Sure.
Hello everyone on Women Dialogues, and I'm your host Shashi to create more voice for women by women. And today's our guest joining us from South Africa, Rahila Khan. Rahila Khan is an entrepreneur and the founder of and CEO of Ishq Leadership Academy. So we will hear more about her life journey, her success story, and her work to learn, to motivate, to inspire all of us. So welcome, Ms. Rahila on Women Dialogues.
Very good morning from beautiful South Africa. Thank you so much, Dr. Sashi, for having me on Women Dialogues. It's such an honor and privilege to connect with you and all our viewers out there globally. Thank you so much for this opportunity, for sharing my story and my perspective in life and my journey in a way. Thank you very much.
Thanks to you as well. It's our great pleasure. It's our great pleasure to be connected with you. And since we were talking about your success, you are founder, you are CEO of your academy, and you have done lots of work. We would like to hear from you your how it all started. How was your early life experiences and all?
Okay, thank you very much. It's good to start at the beginning. You know, as a kid growing up in an Indian home or Indian family in South Africa has been very challenging because of apartheid. You know, we experienced firsthand apartheid and oppression for a very long time. So for me, growing up here was really interesting, but also such an amazing gift to grow up in a diversity. You know, unity in diversity is something I had to learn along the way. So being a child in an Indian family, as you know, education is always top priority, you know, and also with it comes spirituality and believing there's a greater force outside of self, which is God. And I think for me, that's the greatest gift of having that ingrained in my DNA, that we do believe there's this greater force. Some of us may refer to that as God or infinite intelligence. So from a very young age, I knew deep down that I always wanted to be a teacher. And my sister and I would often play as kids, you know, we'd play a school game. And for me, the best part of it was marking the register, you know, and just playing along and having all these makeshift or make-believe kids in the class. And like, it's like talking to them and teaching. And I always wanted to be that. And I eventually, you know, finished school and went into university. And became a teacher. And I served the Department of Education in South Africa for almost 20 years. And then when Nelson Mandela was released and we entered into our democracy in 1990, we had such an influx of children coming from the Black communities and townships. And I realized in doing the bridging gap through the education department of how to teach second language learners English, I found that you know, the African children, we were classified, by the way, as African, Indian, white, and colored in our country. So the so-called African children wanted to come to an Indian school to learn English. So they would travel very early hours of the morning, board a train, take a bus, and get to our schools. And what I realized very quickly is that children are so resilient and so willing to learn, this inner thirst of wanting to learn English. They did it very quickly. And by the end of the year, my English, the Indian children who knew English and those children that came not knowing English could write the same test paper at the end of the year and pass. And I use a lot of creative drama to teach English, make it fun for them, you know, through song and choral verse and all of that. And I just loved it. But what I found on the flip side was in them traveling very early to school, they had to walk like almost a kilometer or two to get to our school. And they had to cross, you know, the freeway, and they didn't have an overhead passenger bridge. So often in providing pastoral care to the learners in the morning, which we call ground duty, a child would run up to me and say, "Ma'am, please come down to the bus stop. Somebody has been knocked." And only to go down to the bus stop and find a 6-year-old in a foil bag Now, to start school that way, I mean, everyone is in mourning. And
Mm.
even the teachers, including myself, we needed
Mm.
some kind of emotional help, which we didn't get. How
Right.
can we then go into the classroom and teach when
Right.
everyone's hurting? We just wanted to cry. So
Mhm.
when I looked inwardly and I saw the children and I thought, learning English, science, geography is incredible. They can do it very quickly. For
Mm.
me, what touched my soul was all the children that are hurting, including myself and all the educators on the staff. And who is
Mhm.
handling that? No one.
Right.
And then I realized one day when I was in the classroom, I became very frustrated. And
Right.
I realized that who's taking care of the heart center? What's the point of being an A student and receiving distinctions in 7 subjects when we are not well-rounded human beings? Nobody's teaching us how to be human first. And
Mhm.
then I resigned and I got into business. And as God and the universe would have it, I looked in the Sunday paper and I found an advertisement to buy a franchise to teach children and adults entrepreneurship.
Mm.
And that's where my business training came in, and I began teaching children and parents. And I had a gift with teachers, I mean, with children and parents, in that I developed a rapport very quickly with them. And my 20 years of working in the infrastructure, in the fraternity of the education system, allowed me to interact very easily with parents and children. So the business part of it was so easy and effortless that I could teach this and get parents to buy a teenage franchise for their children. And I began
Right.
mentoring them. And what I
Right.
found was the most amazing thing. In that franchise, in the training program, we
Mhm.
had what we call the self-development component.
Mm.
And in the self-development component came all the different exercises and practical applications of how
Mm.
to go within yourself and discover
Right.
yourself. And
Right.
for me, that touched my soul. It ignited something within me when I saw the children and how they began growing and they became so confident. And the more
Yeah.
confident they became, even my child was, my son was also in the program. And
Yeah.
seeing how they were just blossoming allowed me to blossom. And then I saw the mirror effect of what we put out is what we get. And the sense of fulfillment and joy that I got, I just couldn't describe it. And in
Mm.
that, our self-esteem grew, our confidence grew, because we were earning not a lot of money, but some money, where we were learning how to become self-sufficient, self-reliant, how not
Mhm.
to become only independent, but also to
Mm.
become interdependent. And
Mm.
how then, as girl children and as women, we can start earning our own money and be very effective contributors in the family. And when I saw
Right.
that, I thought, wow, how amazing is this that we break the conditioning and the thinking that only the boy child or the male should go out and earn money and bring it back into the home. But what we also found in South Africa was a lot of abuse and the patriarchal behavior of males.
Mm.
And
Mm.
what the realization for me was, the greatest realization, which I brought through my academy,
Mm.
through the training and development program, was
Mm.
in setting up my academy. What I found, as women, we are giving birth to the boy child.
Right.
So how come then that boy child grows up to be an adult and become an abuser? Where did
Right.
the child learn that? And that became my passion and drive as a woman, as a mother, to go and uncover all of that, because I also watched my dad and my mom always having these petty squabbles. And I
Mm.
couldn't understand as a child, what is this fighting all about? Like, why do you have to be so mean and disrespectful? And I thought, I will not allow that to happen in my home. So
Yes.
I began teaching my child and other children how to respect, how males and females must respect each other, how
Mhm.
males and females are equal contributors in the home, even financially, that the
Yes.
male will respect the female, even if she's earning far more than him. That
Mhm.
together, when we pool everything together, where we pool our resources, I
So,
found that through my
so
academy
Rahila,
in
just I would
working with
like to
children
ask,
and parents,
I
the
I would like to
rehabilitation.
ask one thing. when we are talking about and we are hearing your life experiences, you brought a lot of points, a lot of topic about apartheid, you brought a lot of patriarchal system, you brought about learning of the certain behavior in certain age, in especially in the uh, boy child. So when we are talking about all these issues, you really brought a lot of points when we are talking about as a women dialogue. So when you developed your passion and your interest to see and to train those kind of certain behavior, to have equality, to have these kind of systems, they should have equal mindset and not to have discrimination. Uh, when we are talking about it, uh, I would like to ask you, share some of your real life in maybe incident or X stories which you experienced through your work, through your training with us.
Sure. My training is very extensive, comes through the Journey Method by Brandon Bays. The viewers, the listeners out there can Google www.thejourney.com. It's a journey method. And I'm highly trained and specialized in working with emotional mastery, in how our emotions trigger negative behavior. And from where I left off before your question came is in rehabilitating not the one child or two children or the mother. It's rehabilitating the entire family, because a community starts in the mother's womb. If the mother is unhappy or is going through stress or is going through some kind of emotional trauma, science has shown, there's huge research by Dr. Bruce Lipton, Dr. Deepak Chopra, and other scientists, Dr. Greg Braden as well. They're amazing teachers looking at science and spirituality together. So if a mother is not taking care of her negative thoughts and emotions and the behavior, apparently the child in the womb learns it there. The negative behavior starts there. So when the child comes into the world, he will behave exactly like the parents. So it's a generational pattern that we are breaking. And that for me is hugely important going there. So coming from school, being a teacher, bringing all my tools from being a teacher and educationist and bringing it as a therapist, as a practitioner in working with emotional issues, I found that in working with families, even if I work with one, just the mother in the home, makes such a difference, because at the DNA level, the child has both the father's DNA and the mother's DNA. So learned behavior comes from both sides of the family. And my success stories are this. When the mother comes into a happy state where she is aware of her thoughts and emotions, and for example, if the father is a bit more abusive and very patriarchal, she comes into greater awareness and she will teach herself and the children how not to react to that. He is that, I don't need to take it on. So you start teaching children the same thing, that if mom and dad are having a difference or an argument, you do not need to take it on because we lack certain skills. So in equipping the parents and children with certain skills which they didn't have before, they now become more competent. So we're developing personal competencies, which they will take into leadership competencies and develop it in the workplace. So the other thing that I do is community development work in South Africa as a community development worker, where we work with an Islamic non-profit organization. And they call me in to bring in all my skills in helping 40 families, indigent families who have nothing. They live like in the slum areas outside of Durban. So when you ask me, how did I do this and how did I bring these families to a place of self-sufficiency and self-reliance, just allow me to indulge. So we had 40 families, of which 50 children were taken from the slum areas and put into a private Islamic school. It's pointless, an organization investing millions of rands into children's education if we do not empower the child. It's pointless empowering the child and educating the child when the child is going back into a toxic home. of poverty, for example.
Mm.
So what we did was we put the children into school, and once a week, every Wednesday, another colleague and mine would go in. She would take care of all the welfare needs, in other words, food, shelter, clothing, and the home needs, which the
Right.
community will help to provide these families.
Mm.
For me, I would go in with all my entrepreneurial spirit and all my emotional mastery training, and I would work with the women and children in unlocking all the trauma they've experienced coming 6-7 generations back.
Right.
What brought them to the place of thinking you are poor? For as long as you believe you have lack and you're poor, you're not going to move from there. So I would teach them every week the power of God and prayer and intention. And in that, they must rewrite and plant the seeds like you're growing a pot plant, and the pot plants are all your dreams and aspirations. What kind of house do you want? What kind of children do you want? How do you see yourself? And in that, we began teaching them the spirit of entrepreneurship. We would give them a kit of cosmetics, and we'd tell them to go and sell it. And I would teach them the cost price, selling price, and the profit. The following week, you come back to me, and I would look at it and say, wow, you did so amazingly because you doubled the money. So we would take the money, invest it in stock again, and the other money that they had, they could buy the power, electricity with, or they could buy airtime, or they could buy some food for themselves. So in that way, we gave them the rod and taught them how to fish rather than giving the fish every day. So when we started the project, we would give 40 food hampers a month, say for about 6 months. Thereafter, with the training that we gave them, they began earning their own money. From giving all these hampers through 20 years of training, we are now down to only giving 3 hampers through 3 widows who are in their senior age. The rest are all employed. The children that came from preschool right until university were mentored by me throughout the years. Even though they're married and they're self-sufficient, I still coach them even now. And we still go back, like during COVID, what are your needs? What can we do to support you? We're not necessarily giving them things, but, you know, over the phone, we're checking up on you to see how are you? What can we do to support you? So basically, we're shifting the thinking all the time. And they began opening up their creativity and their innate potential.
That's the wonderful job you're doing. Yeah, that is something I think I can say that it's a real example how one can develop the society and their surroundings, the way you explained how you are bringing up those people from their mindset of having poverty, having that insufficiency, having the inefficiency or insufficient in many ways, whether they are having you know, scarcity of their food and all these kind of things. So when we are talking about developing those tools and those kind of mindset, it is very much necessity, or it is very much essential what the way they are connecting further. And when we are talking about that, you are still connected with those people, even though you have worked with them certain period of time, but still you are connected, you are checking up with them, or maybe you can say you are seeing how they are doing. So after doing all those work, and they are on that certain level, which we try to work with them, or I can say the work you did with them, how you are seeing that process is continuing from you to them and from them to someone else. Is there something going on or not?
Yes, I'll give you an example, right? Just last year, there was one of our students, and he came from a very toxic home. The father was an alcoholic, and he would abuse the mother, and he wouldn't even let him enjoy a plate of food. We eventually had to find him another place to stay and send him to university, and I mentored him through. And he graduated, he's married, he's got a kid. He's actually, right now, he's bought his own house, and he's busy extending it. And you know what he's doing? He's gone back to the community, and he's adopted 3 families to see how best he can help them in the way we helped him. So it's a legacy that we pass on, so that the legacy is continued within the community. So that is what what we call Ubuntu in South Africa. I am because you are. It's an African philosophy of developing communities. I am because we are. In whatever I have, I can give and share from a place of love, kindness, and compassion. Because if I am happy, I want you to be happy. If I'm eating, I want you to be eating. And that is what we do in South Africa, is in community building. And if we can teach children this and young adults or the youth, how amazing the world would become if in every country, even if it's on a very small scale when we do it. But that consciousness becomes all pervasive, and we start shifting global consciousness in that way. No person must be a victim. No person should be without food, because we must teach each other how to grow your own food, how to grow your own abundance through the power of intentional. That's what we call intentional synchronicity.
Yeah.
Therefore, today, through the power of intention and God, you reached out to me, yet I don't know you. But in just one phone call today, we're having this conversation. There's some higher power had to intervene for us to do this. And the more we start believing this, the more we will create this kind of consciousness session
That's
throughout
really
the world, and how we can take what we have and pass it on.
So Rahila, when we are talking all about it, it is inspiring. It is really connecting with us, not only with us, with our community, with our society, with all this larger platform and global world, we can say. So when we are talking about it, what's your future plan about your own work which you are doing?
I'm continuing this via social media. We're doing it right now, you and I. Thank you for this opportunity of planting new seeds and allowing it to grow and boom through Women Dialogue. And this is exactly what I'm doing through a podcast with Anuradha Anite. I co-host with her. Our podcast is called Born from Love, the YouTube channel. So, and all my teachings are there as well via different interviews and the podcasts we've been doing over the past 3 years. So that's my mission and goal right now through with Anuradha Anite is shifting global consciousness. In my passion and drive is empowering women, because as women, we raise our boy child and girl child. And in that, we are now embracing the men into the equation as well, and that we grow together, men and women equally, through mutual love, respect, and understanding, that we can create healthy children, healthy communities.
That's
when
beautiful message.
We empower,
that's beautiful. Yeah.
Yes.
And just when
thank you. When we empower one woman, we empower a nation.
Yeah, that is definitely very I can say the very pinpoint how one can think as a woman, not to limit their potential, not to limit their mindset, but they can think. They are not developing themselves, they are developing entire generation, society, and this whole global world. But when we are talking about it, before finishing, what one message would you like to give to our audience, our viewers, and especially those women who are listening and watching us?
I think empowerment and life starts with self. So the first thing I would like to say, I'm an advocate of leadership of love. That's my profile. That's my headline on LinkedIn, is to start with self first. It's advocate of leadership of love, beginning with self, family, business, education, and then healthcare. Everything all in one, but it starts with self first. And it's a self-talk that we give ourselves, that I'm worthy of more, I'm worthy of the best life, I love who I am, I can be better every day. And when we love ourselves, our confidence gets boosted, our self-image, our self-worth. I think each person needs to start there, and we also need to teach our children this, that we should not seek validation from outside of self.
I can say that self-love and empowering others, it's itself as a very motivational, very empowering message that everyone should learn first this, because our journey starts from self-love and empowering self. Then further it spread and it grow and it bloom widely. So when we are talking all about it, before finishing, just last one message, why do you think a platform like this, Women Dialogue, is needed?
Oh, it's not needed, it's a way of life. Women's dialogue is the way of life. And I'm so honored and privileged that you set up this platform and that you gave me this opportunity to share as a woman. And what you're doing is incredible. So yes, it's all about women and teaching love, because everything that we do starts in the mother's womb. When we love ourselves, that soul that chooses us to take birth as a human comes in the image of God, which is love. Wow. Everything must be about love. So keep spreading the love. I think your platform is that when you embrace women, we embrace love, we embrace compassion, empathy, and let us grow together. Let us uplift each other. Let us want the best for each other. And I thank you for what you're doing as well, that you're making such a huge contribution to humanity and planet Earth. I thank you and I honor you.
Thank you, Rahila. Such a beautiful message, the beautiful way you supported your feelings, your emotion with this platform, and the way you said it is a way of life. I really love that. I appreciate the way you connected with this platform, your feelings. Once again, thank you so much. It was such a great pleasure to be with you today. Thank you.
Oh, and I love you, and I love you so much. Thank you. Bye now.
Thank you. And thanks to all viewers. If you would like to get connected with us, if you would like to hear more women voices in part of Women Dialogues, please connect with us. Please share, subscribe, like, and thank you. See you in the next episode. And don't forget to check Rahila Khan's work. Her details are available in the description below as well. See you next time. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.